Hello, my name's Chloe Broxup and I'm an English teacher living and working in Buckinghamshire. The reasons I'd like to teach internationally are that I really enjoy travelling. When I finished university, I saved up and did a round the world trip, which meant I got to experience lots of different countries and lots of different cultures. That sort of ignited my love for travel. And from there on, ever since I've started teaching, I've always used my holidays as an opportunity to travel and kind of stay away for as long as I can. Um, so now I just want to extend that further, really, by having the opportunity to kind of live and work in a place and really immerse myself into that life and that culture. Um, I also think that working at an international school would be really interesting because um, the sort of cohort of students would be much more diverse from much kind of more ranging backgrounds than the students I probably work with at the moment. And I think that would be really interesting. So, yeah, they're my prime reasons for wanting to go and work in an international school. I'd say my teaching style is calm and relaxed, with relationships built on mutual respect. I try to manage behaviour by having really well planned lessons and trying to make the content engaging and relatable for students. For the same reason, I try to kind of make my teaching as holistic as possible, um, so that students kind of see what the relevance of their learning is, and can apply it to scenarios that make sense to them. I think it's really important with English being a core curriculum subject that it is creative and engaging. It does foster some of the key skills that students will need later in life, such as imagination, creativity, and probably most importantly, communication. So I think it's important that it is accessible to all students. Um, I try to make sure that my lessons are planned well enough that they are can challenge the most able students, but also are kind of scaffolded well enough to um, keep on board the students that maybe are lower ability. I think teaching comes with a number of rewards and challenges. In terms of rewards, the things that I find most rewarding at work are when students really communicate how much they've enjoyed a text that we've read or a lesson that they've had, particularly when they kind of come in and they've either found another book by the same author, or they found something that they kind of want to share with you off the back of a lesson that you've had. That kind of tells me that they've gone away and really thought about it after the lesson is over. I think some of the challenges are definitely workload and work-life balance. I think particularly with English, marking can be quite overwhelming at times, and I think it's something that um, throughout kind of my training, my NQT year, and the sort of newly qualified years that I've had, I've definitely it's been the area that I've had to really kind of stay on top of the most. Um, I think that feedback is really important, and that students really recognise that in their books. So I do try to kind of keep on top of that and manage that effectively. In terms of my own education, I studied journalism at university, which I think has been really beneficial in my own teaching. It's meant that I've had an opportunity to see how English can lead into a career. I also studied English language and English literature at sixth form, which then led me on to my journalism degree. So it kind of gave me an opportunity to see where you could take um, English later in life. It's also meant that I have a lot of friends that work in that industry, and it's quite good to get sort of up to date current um, knowledge from them of what is going on in that industry and how I can kind of tailor that to my lessons to make it relevant and interesting for the students. For instance, I've got lots of friends that work in sports journalism, and I often sort of discuss this with some of the boys in my lessons who find it interesting because they obviously are interested in sport. I think it's also helped with my planning of non-fiction and media units and making it up to date and current, thinking about how social media is used, thinking about how sort of media is changing and evolving. So I think that's been really beneficial. In terms of working with young people in different settings, I've helped out with summer sports camps, which also included some arts and crafts and some drama. These were really interesting because I was working with primary age students, and I was sort of having to plan sessions that were totally different from planning a lesson. Within school, we run an enrichment program where I get to work with students away from the normal curriculum, doing things such as running, high intensity interval training is the recent one, and also sort of English based enrichment sessions such as creative writing, journalism, and we also do the school leaflet, and a few other bits, sort of charity work. I found this really interesting because I got to work with students um, on different topics not related to English, and sort of see them take interest in other areas and help to foster that interest. I think one of the most important and the skill that I've really developed over my time teaching is my flexibility. I think it's really important to not be phased when situations change, as they often do in teaching. I think um, you come to realise quite quickly that you can't predict the sort of mood that people are going to arrive at your lesson in, whether the technology is going to work, whether you're just going to have to change what you're doing altogether because students aren't responding to something that you've planned. So I think flexibility is kind of one of the key skills that you need to be a good teacher. I think that for me has been something that I've definitely improved as the longer I've been teaching. I think also some of my good skills are that I'm organised, so I am able to kind of plan and keep up to date with most of my marking, which can be quite difficult with English because there is a lot of it. I think also I work well within a team. I like to communicate with staff, and I like to share resources and be part of a team. So I think that would be one of my other really good skills.